Can you hear me?
Hi, Tom.
Hey, hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I love the microphone.
Oh, thank you.
I
Yes,
know you are like well versed in podcasting and the whole YouTube and all the microphones, and probably your video is top notch. I'm like not there yet. So that looks pretty spiffy.
thank you. Yeah, it's most of it was actually donated from viewers, which was really cool.
Totally cool. That is a really impressive. I went over and I looked at just a couple of your interviews and conversations. And of course, I got sucked in. Like, what amazing conversations. And I love that kind of level of conversation. I couldn't keep up. I think your vocabulary is just so elevated, and I'm with you on how you think of things. So of course I was entranced. I tuned in at like 10:30 at night. I was laying in bed and my kids were out on vacation and my kids were all in the room, and I'm like holding it really close so I can still hear you. And just so amazing.
Thank you.
The openness of conversation, and yet the ability for you and the several people that I watched you be with, where you can kind of get frustrated and you get into it, you get, very pointed and assertive with your thoughts, and yet nobody's getting too offended. I really appreciate those kind of conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you didn't see the dumpster fires because they're kind of the opposite, where it's just yelling and screaming matches, which are just hilarious.
Oh, I'm gonna go watch those now. I love that. Because it is a really, impactful conversation, because it touches on the baseline of your belief system. And if somebody's questioning or like bringing that up and maybe making good points as to how everything we believe is wrong, or it's not going to lead us to the capital T truth, everything's shaking down and you're like questioning your whole life and your whole purpose. And I'm sure there are many times when you have parts show up and try and protect you from that realization that we might all be wrong, or I might.
Actually, those are like some of my favorite kinds. So I like the conversations where I get challenged by intellectual people and they bring up good points that are really hard for me to address. Those kinds of conversations are the most fun. Those don't usually turn into yelling matches. The yelling matches are when you're debating somebody who's like dishonest, who doesn't want to let you talk at all, just screams over you. Those are the kind where it just starts getting frustrating and you start yelling at each other.
Yeah, I wouldn't handle that well at
Yeah.
all, actually. I would probably just shut down and be like, you know what, I'm not even gonna waste my time. So I'm impressed you hang in there.
Yeah, well, it's for the money mostly because people like the dumpster fires. So the screaming
Yeah.
matches, it's gets a lot of attention.
So I'm I want to save some of this conversation probably for like the official part, just to spread the word about your channel and all of that. I want to support you in that way because I do find it fascinating and great conversation, of course. Um, but yeah, one of the things I would love to know, how you use that to grow. I think that was one of the very actually everything you wrote. Again, I opened it probably at like 10 o'clock at night and was like, oh my gosh, this guy sounds amazing. You seem to know yourself really well. You are, making steps, intentional steps out of your comfort zone to really get deeper and to grow and live your best life. So you hone a lot of the skills that people avoid because they're hard. And
Yeah,
I really admire that.
I had to pretty much. I wasn't really given an option because I had so like most people I think start with some level of communication skills and enough that they can like get by in life without actually having to like really develop more of them. But I had like level zero communication skills because I my autism left me where I didn't enjoy conversation at all. So I had like no close friends, no close family for like the first 25 something years of my life. And
Yeah.
so I had to start learning how to talk to people just to be able to function in life, to be able to make a job or to communicate with people or to have any kind of interview success whatsoever. And I just, because I lacked all of those skills, I couldn't function in life at all. And that was definitely a contributing factor to my depression. And so um, as I started getting into philosophy, I would invite professors out and talk with professors about philosophy. And that was my first introduction to human communication, essentially, in my life. And from that is how I learned how to be successful at communication, and where I am now on my channel is a product of that.
That's so awesome. I could literally talk just about this for like an hour. I'm so nerdy about it too. But I want to kind of bring in your singlehood, you know, what that looks like, how you are in this really tight spot of, and I got to say, not being that uncommon and wanting really attractive partners, you know, like we kind of all want really attractive partners. Um, and and you even named it, like how you want the attraction and you want the beauty more than the actual connection. And I find that fascinating. Not surprising, right? A lot of us that would be more comfortable emotionally. We don't have to let our guard down, but how that looks and how that takes you on a different journey and the struggles of that journey. I would just love to hear about that piece. And I tell this to everybody, like, I just want to talk naturally. We might get in everything. We might get in, we might exhaust ourselves before we've covered everything. We can do this again. After we're done, and if I forget to say it, like if we're done and you've got that gut feeling like, oh, I really didn't like that I said this or whatever, I'm happy to edit. I can share the audio with you before I post it. I mean, whatever your comfort is. I know you're like out there and you're yelling on the internet, so your comfort level is probably a lot higher than other people's. But I don't do well when I have to give presentations with like a script. I get super nervous. Like my legs start shaking. I break out in hives. Like I really have a hard time giving presentations that aren't just me, you know? And I'm a teacher, so I had to like get away from a lot of worksheets. I had to just flow. And so that's what I need to do here. And that means I'm going to make mistakes. I spend a lot of time editing all of my ums and my random tangents that don't make sense. Like, so if you, just have patience with me on that. I've got my own communication issues too. So,
Yeah, I can actually
anything you
totally
want to talk
relate.
about before what'd you say?
Well, I can actually totally relate to that. But one thing I've really learned is the mistakes actually make me more money, because people will comment on my mistakes to like put in a super chat, like, "Oh, you made a silly mistake here, ha ha ha," or something. Like, "Here's $10." So I'm like, I just leave in all the mistakes now. I'm just like, all right,
That would save me a ton of time on editing, you
yeah,
know? That's funny. Yeah, I need to talk to you because I'm not money mindset. Like I don't have that. And all of my friends that are like watching me pour money into like the dating events and like managing all my time into this stuff, and I'm not getting anything back. They're like, but how are you making up the money? You could be working at a restaurant and making money during this time. And I'm like, yeah. So I need to kind of switch that. And I'm working through like the psychological blocks that I have around money. And there's a lot. And trying to just really feel into my best self, which does mean having more money than paycheck to paycheck, you
yeah.
know? So
A lot of the
I'm impressed
people,
with you, you know, to be able to turn something that you're trying to do to grow into something that sustains you. So great
yeah,
job.
balancing out like your passion and what you enjoy and trying to make a living out of it is a really hard thing to do. Like a lot of the YouTubers who are starting out, who I work with, they want everything to be perfect and professional and make it just absolutely glisten and have no mistakes and spend hours editing, but they're
Yeah.
not making any money off of it. And so they have to like find that sweet spot balance between investing in what they really enjoy, but only as much as they can make some kind of ROI on it and actually get what they're looking for or what they need out of it, rather than it just being like a fun hobby.
Yeah. And that's what I tried to do. I was actually paying somebody to do my social media. I'm like, I can't do social media. I mean, I can, and what I've done is so raw and honest that it looks like a kid's doing it, you know? Like I'm more professional in person but not. I can't be like perfect and no mistakes and everything looks the same. It's just not me. So I've paused that. I've paused the 20-year-old that knew all the tricks on how to get followers on Instagram and hashtag stuff. Like, I don't know if I'm just too old or too like old school that it doesn't work for me. But I think if I want to help people, right, and I want to reach people, I want to be able to do that. We're on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram and YouTube, and I have to step out of my comfort zone. You're helping me just realize this right now. Like, yeah, that's a big point in my direction that I need to step up. So
Yeah, I actually I cheat, and there's a few websites that'll do most of the work for you, where you post just one thing on their website and they'll broadcast it out to all the other websites for you, and
mm,
that saves me a ton of time. So I do a Restream, which is the one where it posts all my videos to YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn, and a few other places all at the same time. So I'm just doing one recording and they're putting it to every place for me.
ooh,
And
what's that
there's
called?
Restream.io.
Restream. Okay.
And there's another one that does it for like Facebook posts and Instagram posts, Twitter posts, and all those different places. And so using those kinds of helpful tools for content creators saves a lot of time.
Yeah.
And
What's the one for posts? Is it
I don't remember what
Linktree?
it's called, because I have guys who well, Linktree shows all of your websites, but it doesn't actually do the posting for you, I don't think. I don't
Oh,
remember what it is, because I have someone who volunteers and does all that stuff for me. But
nice.
I'll ask him and I'll see if I can find out what that is.
How do you get people to volunteer to do that?
They contact me actually, which is really
You're so
cool.
badass. You're so into it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So actually, I have my hero, Jeff. He does all of my scheduling for me now, also a volunteer. So he does all the emailing and contacting people and sets up like times, puts them on my Google Calendar. So it's like 90% of my job is now volunteer work that other people do for me.
I need you to tell me how to do all that, because I'm seeing the school year start up in a month. And I'm like, I am moving. There's a lot of energy in all these events. And I've been doing both teaching full time and 3 kids and this whole world that I'm trying to grow. I've been doing it for 2 years. And I'm like, I know I can do it again. I don't want to do it again. I want to do all this dating stuff, but like I'm not ready. I don't have those in place yet. So I think I'll have to teach at least another year and we'll see how it goes. But we'll mark it at July 14th, 2020, and we'll see if I can pull it off a year from now. You
Nice,
might hear from
nice.
me for some advice.
Yeah, it took me, I think, 3 years before I started to be able to go full time on YouTube. So
Cool. Okay.
takes a long time to build like a network of people, and you just got to find the right donors essentially.
Yeah. Ah, that's awesome. Okay, well, is there anything before, because again, I could talk and not even get into dating about all this stuff, but I want to be respectful of your time. Anything you want to talk about ahead of time about dating, or topics that are too touchy, or I can't imagine, but anything that you want to get off your chest or you're nervous about?
I don't think so, because I've like my entire life story is on my YouTube channel in like 10 different videos. So I'm pretty comfortable
Okay,
talking about all of the messy stuff too. So
cool.
I'm not anything I'm too nervous about, I don't think.
Okay, that's fine. And again, so much editing. We can like cut stuff out or, whatever. I'm getting better at that. So anyways, I'm so excited to introduce TJump today. Tom and I have not met in person and just met on Zoom about 15 minutes ago. I have stalked him, however, when he applied, kind of put in his, what do we call this? An intake
Application.
form. Yeah, to kind of apply to be on this podcast. The clarity, the conciseness and self-awareness that Tom included on his form was inspiring, and I instantly reached out to set this up, and I'm really excited for the rest of you guys to hear his story, the struggles, and the ways that he's taken his challenges and formed them into a fruitful life at this point. And I think, hopefully we'll get to talk about what his future looks like and how his journey has has been quite interesting in the dating experience. So Tom, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today and share your story with others.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this one. So where would you like to start? Like how, I know you were saying even up until about the age of 25, you kind of had some struggles, and that definitely has had to change in order for you to date successfully or unsuccessfully. What was going on in those first 20 decades or 20 years?
20 decades. Yeah, I'm really, really old now. But yeah, so I was diagnosed with high function autism and major depressive disorder, and those are a very bad combination to have for social skills. It was essentially talking to people, made me feel really terrible all the time, and I was really bad at it. So I would accidentally insult people without realizing it. I was bad at picking up social cues. I didn't have any kind of like emotional connection to anything. It bored me out of my mind because as being autistic is very literal, analytic, mathematically focused. You just try to get stuff done. It's very, very focused on more of the achievement accomplishment side of emotion, and you lose or don't have a lot of the emotional connection and nurturing side of what most people feel in emotional development. And so for me, conversation was means to get stuff done. I would like need a job done, tell me, and then okay, I'll go do it. That's about it. There was no kind of developing a relationship with anyone, not even my parents or my sister. Like I didn't know pretty much anything about them even till today. Well, like I didn't know how old they were, didn't know where they met, didn't know where they went to school or what most of their passions were. I just never spoke to them for the vast majority of my life because I just didn't
Your
enjoy it.
family.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, that's so interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So just for me, the in conversation, the big part that most people get out of it, that emotional connection and nurturing, I just didn't get any of that. I just didn't feel it. And so it didn't come natural to me to have this kind of human interaction aspect to life. To me, it was weird, and I didn't realize why. Of course, from my perspective, this I just assumed everybody was like this, and I was always
Mm.
really confused about why all these people are talking to another. Like, what are they doing? Like, that looks so miserable.
We're not getting anything done right now.
Exactly, exactly. Like they could be playing video games. Why? What? Outside sports? What?
Yeah.
But so because I didn't understand why I was different. To me, it seemed normal. I didn't realize that there was a problem exactly. I didn't know that this wasn't just a normal stage of growing up or whatever that all kids go through. And I didn't realize I was missing out on a lot of the social skills and social connections that are really, really important in life. And it took me a long time of learning about myself and going through and meeting people and developing my social skills to really realize the importance of friends and family in trying to build a meaningful life. And so because I was very analytic, I wanted to try to research as much as I could to try to solve this problem. I'm like a super intellectual research kind of type. And so I was like, well, all right, I'm lonely, I'm depressed. How do I solve these problems? Just Google lonely, depressed solutions, like plan it out, like write out a little sheet of all my plans, play a little like bank heist music in the background, like a movie scene, and be like, all right, plan, just write it out. Plan friendships and relationships. All right, mission, go out and speak to people. And I'm like, I cringe. I'm like, oh my God, this is terrifying. I hate this idea. And I started to realize that I needed a way to talk to people that made me feel comfortable because I was so uncomfortable talking about just anything. And I realized that from my research into philosophy, it was something that made me feel very confident. I was confident about my knowledge in philosophy, and I used the competitive aspect of my personality to give me a motivation to talk to people who I thought were very knowledgeable and who could challenge my intellect on this topic. So I would email professors and philosophers around the local area to chat about different topics in philosophy. And some of them decided to invite me out to coffee. Now, this was something I'm really hesitant about. Like, wait, meet in public and speak to other people while surrounded by other people. Like, I don't know about this.
Can we just do it over the phone so we don't have to be in person?
Well, I like email. That way I can respond and give you like 30 pages of text and that you can never reply to. So I win the debate. It's very, very easy. And they know this. They understood this because they have a lot of people, they're professors who want to debate with them, especially
Sure.
students. And so they're like, no, we're going to go out to coffee where it's an even playing field, no
Yeah.
like 30 pages of text. And so I reluctantly agreed. And I went out to coffee to meet a few people. Some of the coolest ones were Greg Boyd and Paul Eddies. They were a local pastor who wrote about the Jesus legend. They're both Christians, and they're debating against the position that Jesus didn't rise from the dead and was a fictional historical character. And so they're fairly prolific authors, and they agreed to meet me for coffee, which was really, really cool. I'm so grateful to them being willing to spend the time to have a conversation with me. And
Can I ask how you introduced yourself? Were you like, hey, I'm just this guy who's trying to communicate and learn how to communicate? Or did you like present some kind of history of philosophy in your life or papers that you've written? Or like how'd you do that?
I think I did, because I'm still super brief. So I just went, I'm an atheist. I had some questions about your book. Can we talk? They're like,
Oh, good.
sure. So this was prior to me starting my YouTube channel, but this was like the first real conversation with academics that I had, like really big academics. And it was one of the most pivotal conversations in my early starting conversation career, let's call it,
Yeah.
um, both in the social realm, because I definitely realized I was not doing very well. I was definitely kind of insulting them at some points, and I didn't realize that. But looking back at the conversation, I could realize that and try to grow. And also from the conversation, I learned a big aspect of the philosophy I was missing, and that was also very pivotal for me.
Mm.
And it made me being able to look back at those situations and analyze what I did and find the mistakes and think about how I can improve upon those was huge for me, because that made it more of a game. Conversation became more of like a gamified kind of a thing that I could do for fun and try to improve upon and learn about. And so I was much more comfortable going out to coffee shops and talking to professors about philosophy, like those things. Coffee shops, much better than bars, much more
Oh yeah.
comfortable, less like traumatizing emotionally to be at. I was like, all
Right.
right, I can do coffee shops. This is a nice little safe space for me. And philosophy also, it's really nice, good topic to focus on. I can talk philosophy a lot better than like emotional stuff and friends and family and small talk. Like that stuff's terrible. Philosophy, I'm good at this. So I realized that there are certain locations that are much easier to develop communication skills, and certain topics that are much easier to develop communication skills. And those are the things that make me confident, or that I'm confident about, and
Yeah.
places where it's not like high emotional tension locations. So very chill, relaxing places with some intellectual, slow, calm conversations. And that's helped me greatly to be able to look for more places that I could engage with and to develop more social skills. So from that, I started to look for meetups, meetup.com, philosophy groups at different colleges, went out to like 10 or 12 different professors to coffee over the next several months. And I really started to develop my social skills to a much greater degree than I had ever before. And so going from like zero social skills to being able to speak to another human being is a huge transition that took me only about 6 months to like get into it very seriously. And
Which is
from that,
impressive, right? I mean, like just the anxiety of that first meeting, of being with somebody who knows a lot of things and has those social communication skills, and you're feeling like a fish out of water. Did you have to go home and like cry for an hour? I mean, how did you release that kind of tension and stress of making up 25 years of communication in you said 6 months? How did you manage all that was going on inside of you?
uh,
Or were you not really aware of it? Like it's still not
yes,
just a logical thing.
yeah. So I was completely unaware of it. So I distracted myself with the more gamification side. So because I was focused on looking at the conversation and trying to map it out on what parts I did well, what parts I did poorly,
Hmm.
and do research on how I could improve on those parts that I did poorly. I was so focused on treating it exactly like I do a video game, which was my like comfort zone. That's what I did for the past 25 years without any social experience. I played video games and I was good at it. I was like
Yeah.
top 10 on the leaderboards. I was very, very good at it.
Were you making
And
money from it? I hear you can do that now.
No, I was not, because again, those require you to actually travel to places and be around people. And I was like, no,
Oh.
stay with my little chair zone. But because I was so focused on the thing I did well, which was gamifying the system, I
Mhm,
didn't notice as much of the emotional tension and stress. I was definitely under a lot of stress while being there, but as soon as I went home and went back to my methodology for learning how to beat a video game, it just became another day, that I was just another of every other day where I was just so comfortable in my zone where I'm planning things out. I didn't focus on the pain and the anxiety. And I think if I did, I think that would have made it a lot more challenging. And so I was very lucky that I accidentally started to treat it like a video game and didn't have
yeah.
to really introspect about all of the emotional stress I was going through.
So my understanding is that it was really going on. You did have stress and anxiety and all of the emotional repercussions of these choices, which were great choices. I'm not trying to say that they were bad repercussions, but that you just kind of pushed them aside. You focused, you stayed focused, you made it fit into the methods that work for you, and yeah, all this other stuff was kind of behind closed doors.
Yeah. And I think that was a crucial role or crucial fact that made it possible for me, because I know in prior examples, when I did just go in the deep end, try to go to bars, try to go to big social experiences, those caused me all of that emotional stress. And when I went home, all I could do was think back about how terrible it was and ruminate about how miserable and painful it was and how intolerable I couldn't take it. And
Mm-hmm.
those kinds of things made it 10 times worse,
Mm-hmm.
because it made that pain last significantly longer. And in these cases with the philosophers, because it was, I stopped ruminating on it. I stopped thinking about all of the emotional pain and the stress, and I was able to focus on something else which I enjoyed. That made the experience significantly more tolerable for me to be able to do and to reproduce and to keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, whatever you did works because you seem calm and happy and just very chill, engaged with me. With the, I mean, even last month we were having a women's only group, and they were sharing how the guys just talk. When the women try and chime in and share an experience, they don't even hear her or them. Like they just keep talking, or they stay quiet while this woman in particular was trying to share, but they can't engage enough to have a back and forth. And you've already surpassed that. We've already been talking for 27 minutes before this, and it feels like a very well balanced sharing and connected conversation. So that's huge leaps and bounds in a short amount of time. So how do you do the other stuff? How do you step out of philosophy then, and like how are you trying to apply that to the other needs that you might have? So just even tomorrow I'm talking, or Saturday I'm talking about our basic needs with a group of people in our group, and we push away so many of our needs. And I love how earlier you shared that you didn't get to this point, you didn't push yourself past your comfort zone in communication until you really knew these were needs, that you couldn't move forward, you couldn't advance, you couldn't do your life without being able to communicate with others. So that makes a lot of sense, that you were kind of like, okay, these are the checklists that I have to accomplish every day. And you don't really need to see anybody else. You don't need to be a part of anything else in your life. This is what my day has to look like in order to get to the next day. And at what point then you know, did you take your lessons and your skills now for communication past philosophy? Like, what made you have to expand farther than that? Because maybe you didn't have to. That was satisfying enough, or I don't know. Like, what was your transition then?
Well, the philosophy didn't work. That was the problem. So
Ooh.
of all the things I tried, the main cause of my depression was I needed a relationship. Because of in high function autism, people with autism have a special interest. A special interest is the one thing in the world that means everything to you. It is the
Mm-hmm.
one thing that makes you entertained and valued and happy. And it's everything in the world that matters to you. You have it, you happy. If you have it, you're happy no matter what else is going on. If you don't have it, you're miserable no matter what else is going on. So it is the
Mhm.
only thing in the world that really matters to you, far more than anything else. And for me, that was a relationship with specifically a very, very attractive woman. That's what I needed to feel the kind of comfort and happiness in life due to my special interest. And so philosophy was something I got into as a way to try to learn about depression and loneliness and to try to be more social. And it got me a lot of connections with professors and philosophers and old white guys, but not quite what I was looking for in a
No?
relationship. But how I transitioned from that into more typical friendships and more relationships was by taking the things that I was comfortable in, like philosophy club meetups and meetup groups at colleges, and having been in those situations for a while and talked with the people about philosophy for a while, I was much more comfortable being around them and expressing my emotions to them and telling them what my needs and goals were. And I think the first person I talked to was at a philosophy group, and I asked him, I'm really bad at dating. Do you have any advice? And he's like, yeah, I do. And so he had quite a number of books on the topic. He went through
Oh.
something very, very similar because he was also very introverted. It's a common thing in people in the philosophy groups, apparently. And so he walked me through his steps, and he started to take me out to bars where we just start conversations with random people. He took me to like Targets and places to start conversations with random people. And he was very, very influential on my ability to try to transition out of more the academic route into the more casual social route. And so I was really lucky in that I met some really cool people who were willing to go out with me from the philosophy group, which was something I was comfortable with. I found this connection to move into these other fields, which I wasn't comfortable with. And so I slowly transitioned into the more scary domains of social interaction with normal people.
That is so brave because yeah, the even the bar scene, I can just feel the pressure. I mean, I talk to people now, just how do you talk to somebody at a grocery store? How do you approach someone at Target? I mean, that just feels kind of creepy these days. But I've done it, and if you do it in the right way, or you do it with like a kind heart, or, like in a non-creepy way, you really can make some just great moments, a little spark during your day, or build new friendships. And do you want to give a shout out to this guy if he has books, if he's like
Oh,
written anything or
he didn't write the books. He owned books on the topic that he allowed me to share.
got it, got it.
I haven't talked to him. I'm not sure if he'd like me to tell him his
That's
name, so
okay.
I wouldn't.
That's totally okay. And I'm curious just to go back a little bit. The first, let's say 30 years then is when you kind of were doing the philosophy with the professors in the coffee shops. Were you weren't partnered, right? You didn't have a relationship with a super hot chick. You were then aware that those were things that you needed, or you didn't know until you found enough connections or met enough people that you're like, that's that girl over there that I'm super attracted to. That's what I want. Like then it became your obsession. Like, and I don't mean obsession, but your thing, right? With you were saying, and I don't remember the wording that you
Special
used.
interest.
Special interest, thank you. That became your special interest once you saw it, or did you know growing up that this was your thing? You'd see a show on a movie, or like a relationship, or you see an actress or something, and like that you knew then. How did you figure that out?
Well, that was actually a byproduct of therapy, but not necessarily in a good way. So during the same time period of researching philosophy, I was going to a number of therapists. I spent many, many years going to therapy. And from talking with them, they were asking, what do you care about? What makes you happy? And I'm like, video games and like pursuing attractive women. Those are the two things. And we went through many of the past experiences I had, even in grade school and high school, where the only thing I really cared about was what the one attractive woman in my class thought. That was the only thing I thought about. Didn't care about any of the other people there. Didn't care about any of the teachers. None of the work didn't interest me. But if I did anything that like embarrassed me in front of one of the women, that emotionally impacted me significantly more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And from going through these conversations, um, most of the therapists had no idea what was going on. They didn't. We're not educated in autism, so they didn't pick up on the cues. And it wasn't until I went to, I think his name is Mark Foster, who is an expert in autism, and he diagnosed me with autism. And he went through like, yep, special interests, yep, these are all character traits of autism. And he talked to my parents, went through all these big paperwork things to do all the tests. Like, yep,
Hmm.
this is all autism. This is clearly autism. And he diagnosed me. I got a formal diagnosis. I forget what the term there is, but diagnosis.
Diagnoses or something.
Yes. And that's when I started to be able to try and figure out that I had a special interest, and what that special interest was women, because I was now being able to research into autism and what the traits of autism were. And I was able to identify those, the like bullet points of what autism was, and figure what those out were in my life. And from that's where I was able to really figure out that, yeah, what really matters to me is relationship, really attractive women. Unfortunately, all the other therapists I went through were terrible, because they thought they were treating me more like a normal person. And so they thought relationships were more like a fling, or kind of like a passing interest, and it was just sexual or something. They didn't really understand that that was a more fundamental need of my emotional self. And it took a specialist in autism to be able to make that connection, bridge that gap.
Yeah, when I read your write-up, I really find it fascinating that your special interest isn't like an object, an idea. You know, a lot of special interests can be like dinosaurs, or, you know, mathematics or philosophy, you know, things that you can kind of have a book on, and you can study and research and Google and all of those things, which is more typical special interest. I have students with autism. My sister is an autism specialist social worker that helps college students. You know, like it's been in my life, not in my particular family, but I've when I read that, I was like, well, that's complicated. And so the question that I had when I read that is your special interest an attractive woman, or being in a relationship with an attractive woman? Like, I see them as different. Like, there is more of that noun, the of object, and being close to that, having it, knowing everything about it, like, you know, like you would dinosaurs, or, you know, ancient rocks, or, you know, something else. Or is it the actual relationship?
Yeah, it's definitely being in a relationship. So I'm not just interested in any attractive woman. I want to know facts about her. It's more having an attractive woman be in my life in a relationship, and give me a sense of value and accomplishment, and to care about me in some way. So it's definitely the relationship side that's my special interest, not just attractive women in general.
That's so interesting. How is that gone for you?
Not great for the vast majority of my life. I have had two relationships. Both of them were stunningly attractive. One was absolutely perfect in every way I could possibly imagine, my dream relationship. And I was lucky enough to get to be in a relationship with her for 6 months or so. And that 6 months, my emotional standard of like happiness completely changed. I was from
Oh,
suicidally major depression up until 33, which is like less than a year ago. And after being in a relationship with her, even after we broke up, my like baseline of happiness was miles and miles higher than it ever had been. So,
because you've just had everything you wanted.
yep, yep.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that was most painful for me, was when I saw an attractive woman at a store or on a magazine or in a movie. It caused me to remember or think about how I wasn't good enough, and how all of the failures of the past 20 something years had gone, and how I had never had any success. And now it reminds me of the happy memories and happy experiences I had being with this woman, and how I had succeeded. And so there's a complete difference when I go through life on a daily basis now, where things are reminding me of the happy memories and happy experiences, where they used to be reminding me of all the painful ones, and causing me to ruminate on all of the suffering that I went through. And so that is the most impactful thing that's happened to my life. It is the most meaningful, significant thing that has been able to help me, was that relationship.
That's awesome. And I've got to say, I like I would say rare way that you look at that. When some people, they have this beautiful relationship, it means so much to them, and then it falls apart or something, for some reason you can no longer be together, even if it's you can't look at those things anymore and think of happy things. You think of how it failed and how they're no longer in your life, and like it pulls you down more, but you are having it pull you up. And remember those good things, and that you are worthy, and you are a wonderful partner, and that you are, um, I guess, good enough to have an attractive partner. Did you ever have, I mean, especially with depression, like that it didn't spiral you down? How'd you stay afloat?
I think that has a lot to do with the autism primarily having an emotional factor due to achievement accomplishment rather than connection and belonging. So I
Mm,
think that the reason people spiral down is because they get this connection with this individual and it means a lot to them. The time they spend together, the kind of emotional rapport that they have. Whereas for me, because it's more about the being in a relationship with a really attractive woman, I don't get as connected emotionally to the person. It's more about the idea, or like the special interest of being in a relationship with an attractive woman is the thing that really makes me happy. And the emotional connection side is much harder for me because of the autism. And so I
mm,
don't get as attached to the person or the individual. Even though I do feel that there was like right when we broke up for the next 3 or 4 days, I was really depressed, but I recovered pretty quickly. And as I recovered, I realized that my a baseline emotional state had just improved significantly. And so I think the reason that is because of the autism, where I'm focused more on the statistics and the numbers of it essentially, rather than the emotional connection side.
I got that. I can see that. And when you were talking, what came to my mind was like getting an award for something, that I've done it, I got it, it's here in my hand. And even if you take the award away, someone, you pass it on the next year or something, you see an award on a show or something, you'd be like, oh, I got one of those once. Like I did it. I am awesome. Is that kind of an analogy for it?
Yeah, that's a lot of the aspects to it. Definitely the ability to see myself as having value because I was able to achieve my dream essentially. And that gave me hope I could do it again. So
Hmm.
it that's definitely a major aspect to why it had such a huge impact on me emotionally.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And I remember the first person I dated after, my marriage totally fell apart. I could feel the cloud of sadness, of depression. And I don't have depression. It doesn't last very long, but I can get really low. I think that is a blessing and a curse for people that are really in touch with their emotions, is that your low is really low, your high is really high. And I could feel it. I knew it was coming, and I happened to meet someone I was meeting a girlfriend, whatever, long story short, it pulled me out. I never got that low ever again. Like it now raised, just like you said, it raised the bar on happiness. Like I can't ever really get that low anymore because wow, I just had a really great time flirting, and I was flirting with somebody again. Like it felt like some of the gray clouds have parted, and they're never coming back, and your sense of self-worth and all these things, it's there now. And it is such a gift, right? For somebody to be a part of your life, to offer that. And they don't know, right? They aren't aware. They're like, oh, I'm going to go make this person feel really good about themselves for the rest of their life. um I think it's part of the plan, and we can talk philosophy on this one some other time, but that's exactly what I needed to take that next step up in my life, in my self-worth, in getting myself out of the clouds. And it sounds, 6 months of that sounds like a really big deal. I mean, you make big jumps in short amount of time. So I I'm feeling you, and like how joyful it would be to make that kind of progress in 6 months. And to know you're never going back to that place where you had no self-worth, or you were so low and depressed. Not saying that you can't go back every once in a while. Of course I do too. But how can I ask then, like, what did you learn from that relationship about how to be a partner? What worked in that relationship that you were offering? How did it fall apart? Like, what can you take in our analytical brains? I do the same thing with dating. Like, what did I learn? What mistakes did I make? What can I, do to change so that doesn't happen again? I reflected after every single date. And it sounds like this is guaranteed that you did this after the relationship,
Yeah, for
knowing
sure.
our conversation so far.
Well, I was doing it during the relationship, and that was actually kind of one of the problems, unfortunately, was I am super blunt and upfront about things. I'm like, so if when we had sex or whatever, I asked like, how was that? Is there anything I could do differently? Or during the sex, like, what would you like me to do? And she didn't like that one bit. She was not like, oh yeah, I'll just tell you what you're supposed to do here. Like, no, she was like, that's annoying. I feel like I'm your sex therapist. Like that bothers me. Don't do that. I'm like, all right, I'll stop. And I was like that with everything. I was like, how am I doing now? Is this a good conversation? And that was not a great thing to do in a relationship.
Yeah.
So for me, the over analytic thing can be a problem, especially because it limits the emotional connection side of things, which is really important for a lot of people. And so because people want the emotional connection thing, it's better for me to limit the analytic side to like more specific times and spaces, to like be more open and say, are you open to having a conversation about the more analytic side right now? Or and to verify with her if she's in that kind of mindset or not before
Yeah.
jumping into it and just be like, oh, how was that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is so mindful. That's exactly what so many people need to take into account when you're having a conversation, that you don't have to juggle as much. I am super impressed with you right now. And as much as I think I would find it really kind of fun, I mean, I have to be in the right mindset to be like, I'm going to tell you what to do. You really want to know? Here's the blunt truth on how you're doing, or what I really thought in that conversation. I don't know if you've listened to any of my other stuff, but I talk about conflict avoidance and how I have an allergy to it. So if I know that you aren't going to bring the hard stuff to me, or you're like hiding things, you're not being blunt and honest, like I really react as if I've eaten, something I'm allergic to. And that sounds amazing to me, right? I'd be like, well, this is what he's thinking in this moment exactly. And now I know the full truth and where he's at and all that stuff. But I could see how, you're in the mood and you're in the mode, and it's, and you don't want to talk about it. There are some perks to that though, because I think a lot of women, particularly in the bedroom, are really quiet. They don't give a lot of signs. They're uncomfortable talking about it. They're uncomfortable acknowledging what feels good and what doesn't, you know. And that is something we women need. Really, just anybody that's insecure or not comfortable with theirself in that way, like, they need to get better at that, because communicating isn't just body language. Verbalizing things that you need to have happen or what you liked is something that's really incredibly beautiful in a relationship when you can talk about it. This past weekend, I was talking with somebody that I can do that with, and that we talk about sex and what's enjoyable and pleasurable and what's not, and very openly. And their best friend, they were talking about it, and his best friend is married for like 14 years. They don't talk about sex at all. Like, there's no indication that it's good, that it's bad, that anything. They just somehow look at each other in a certain way. They go to the bedroom, they do their thing, and then they leave, and they never talk about it. I'm like, what? That would blow my mind. That would suck. I would not be able to do that. I want to analyze it. I want to know, okay, you like this, you don't like this, and that goes for the relationship. Was this a good conversation? What was your experience during this conversation? What happened for you when I got aggressive, or that assertive, or upset, or I started to tear up? Did you notice that I teared up? Like, I analyze all that, and I ask those questions. I think you're right, though, that knowing the right time to ask, or if they're in the right space for it, because when they're just wanting to cuddle and watch a chick flick with you, and you're like, let's talk about all the things that are wrong with our relationship, they're like, you just killed the mood. you
Yep.
know so how did your partner like handle that? Was it annoying right away? Did it just kind of kill the mood over and over again? Were there big fights? I mean, how did you end up, did you walk away? Was it about the connection, the lack of it that kind of ended it?
Well, no, so it's mostly like she didn't bring up that it bothered her all the time. And because I'm autistic, I don't pick up on social cues. So even though she was definitely giving signs she didn't like it when I did these things, she didn't bring it up as much. And so I wasn't able to figure out that a lot of the things, like asking all the time, was this good or was this bad, was something that really bothered her. And those added up to the point where she just wasn't into the relationship because I was doing a lot of those things that wasn't bridging the emotional connection that she needed,
Yeah.
and was doing things more like on the analytic route that made her uncomfortable, and I didn't realize it, and not realizing it made it worse. So there was a lot of the parts of the autism that came into learning how to figure out how to do those things normally and when to do those things that put a lot of tension on the relationship, the learning experience. When someone's a beginner at something, you make a lot of mistakes, and those
Mhm.
mistakes can put a lot of tension on the relationship.
Yeah, I can see that. And as maybe uncomfortable as it is for you, probably more for her to be your trainer, right? To be the person that you try stuff on and you try and see what works. That's what we all do. Every relationship that we have, every dating experience that we have, we're just trying to figure it out. We're just learning. You're just going to go on a date and you're going to see how it goes. And you're going to like try a response. You're going to try and speak up for your need and you see how it goes. So as much as, yeah, it might feel, I don't know, awkward for either party, we're all doing that all the time. Just trying to learn, we're putting ourselves out there and we're trying to figure it out. So I don't think what you're doing is any different than the rest of us. It sounds, when you say high functioning autism, I think that's an understatement. Like social cues you're picking up. I mean, like I want to paint this a different picture, and I kind of, I'm aware of stigma. I'm aware of like boxes that, people that have that label of autism get put in. And for our listeners, I wouldn't know that. And I think that's what took your therapist so long. My students that have autism, you can kind of tell right away. There are definitely social cues. There are like ways that they're looking and talking and walking that indicate, okay, there are some special needs for this person. And all your YouTube videos that I watched here right now, like it's kind of surprising that you did get to figure this out, because you don't show those things that, I got to say right now, and to be blunt, like might be a crutch for you. That might be like, oh, I have autism. And so all these things are really hard. And that's where I wanted to kind of ask also is, you stepped out of that autism box by saying, I don't know how to communicate. I can't communicate well. I'm going to work at this. I'm going to figure this out, and not use autism as a crutch to just dismiss, throw your hands up and just say, this is who I am. You've done that now with at least your 6 month relationship. I'm sure there's lots of littler, shorter relationships along the way. But the way that I would love to understand how we're going to bridge that emotional connection, or this lack of emotional connection because you have autism, and kind of step out of that and be like, I can, or I will learn to get in touch with this part of me, this deeper emotional part. I wasn't connected to communication or to people and all of that, but I can do it now. I stepped out and I figured it out, and I've got in touch with how to be comfortable with that. My curiosity now is having a relationship. And that's why I asked my earlier question. How are you going to exist and share a relationship with a beautiful woman if emotional connection isn't there? If you don't feel it, you can't do it, everything's analytical. I don't see that being in a relationship. I see it as like a checklist of like rules to follow. And I feel like my gut instinct right now is that you can be more than that. you could actually be emotionally connected to somebody. And now I don't know you longer than almost an hour now, but the way that I just have gut feelings about people, the way that, I mean, everything I feel from you right now is that it is possible. Have you made strides for that? How have you made that's hard, a deeper connection? There are people without autism that are narcissistic and have those kind of issues that for some people in particular in my life, I don't think they're capable. I just don't think they can get deeper and in touch with themselves. And I might be wrong for you. I don't know, but I'm feeling a lot of hope and excitement that you can get to that place. I know I just said a lot, and I'll probably have to edit a lot of that.
Well, actually, don't edit any of it. That was all good. So there's two main points there that I wanted to pick up on. One was that yes, today I'm pretty good at picking up on social cues, and that's because of practice. So if you had met me back in my early 20s, you would probably be able to tell. So I remember there was this one story that I had that I'm really embarrassed about from my time at Normandale. I was going to college, and one of the professors was doing like doing like a course at one of the classes, and he asked a question. We're doing the two truths and one lie, and I don't remember what exactly he said, but he gave three examples of some really cool things. And my answer to his question was, well, I know this one was a lie, because if it was true, if you have the resources to accomplish that, you wouldn't be a professor at a community college. And that was like super emotional burn. Like, I didn't realize at all I was insulting him. I was totally just oblivious. It's just analytically, in order to have enough money to do this, you would have to be able to do this, which you can't get from this kind of a job. So I was just calculating it out. It's like, oh, here's the answer. And he was pissed. He was pissed at me for like a week after that. And I didn't even notice. I was like, oh my God. But now, from being able to practice for all these years and understand more about myself, and being able to look back at that memory, I can now recognize when I did those things, and I could learn from them. And so that's how I've progressed to be able to be where I am today. The second thing you asked was the emotional connection thing. So I'm definitely capable of emotional connection. I was definitely emotionally connected to the women I was dating, but it was in a different way. So I took there's the love languages, 5 love languages test, and
Gary Chapman.
understanding, yeah, and understanding what I'm emotionally connected to is very different from most people. So I'm like pretty much all the physical touch, more than anything else. Words of affirmation do nothing for me. There's no words you could say to me that are ever gonna make me feel anything. I'm like, okay,
Which is
that's
why you can
nice.
say things and it offends people, and you don't have that
Yep.
there. And
Yep. Insults
yeah,
and compliments just don't do anything for me. I just find them a source of entertainment mostly. It's like, okay, cool. And I the way I feel emotional connection is more on the physical touch side. And I can get emotionally connected to somebody, but it's not going to be from like words of affirmation, or the other ones. I forget what they all are now.
gifts,
Acts of
acts of
service.
service.
And there was one more. There's always the fifth one I can't remember.
I know, right? Okay, so physical touch, quality time.
Yes, quality time. So most of those don't have much of an emotional impact on me. Physical touch does. I love cuddling. I absolutely love cuddling. Best time ever. Like, my best memory of being in a relationship was just cuddling and watching Star Wars in bed for like 4 hours. And that was the best. And so for me, physical touch is what I need to build an emotional connection. But words don't really do it for me. And that makes it very hard, because words of affirmation and communication, those kinds of things are really, really important to most people. And for me, because they don't do anything, it makes it seem like I'm more on that like narcissistic sociopath realm, because I don't value that kind of connection. And that makes it really hard to try to be able to bridge that gap, because I need to learn how to give affection in the words way, even though I don't necessarily feel it.
That was exactly what I was going to say. Like, for me, words don't do anything either. Like, I've been fed a lot of words that were empty, and I have the opposite response. Like, when you say nice things to me, I can't trust it now. So I need other things. So I totally get that, but then I have to remember to give words of affirmation and give compliments. And thankfully it comes naturally for me, but I can see how it's not a two-way street. Sometimes your love language is obviously not the same as your partner's, and being able to read that and understand what it is. Now, women, I just gotta, and you'll appreciate this, I have a little beef with men in general that say physical touch is their love language, because we can't tell, I can't tell if that's your cop out for just wanting a lot of sex and being like, oh man, I'm in the mood. Like, but my honey, my physical touch, or my love language is physical touch, you know, like you totally could use that against us
I
where we're
would
like,
never do such a thing. What?
no, not ever. And I'm like, I can't tell, like, if you're just horny or you're really feeling depleted of love. Like, I really am confused on this one. And
Oh, I just want to say that. So for me, the sex part is the least valuable of the physical touch. For me, physical touch is cuddling is the best. I love
Mhm.
holding someone in my arms. Just like ASMR. Do you know what ASMR is? Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. It's
Ooh, no.
it's a tingly sensation you get on the back of your neck that's really relaxing. It's like when
Oh,
someone
I had
like,
a student do a YouTube video on like
yes,
different sounds and how to create that.
yes, that was, I love ASMR. And so I love when me and my girlfriend would do that on each other. It's like just take your fingers and do like soft scratching on your back
Yeah.
and
Oh,
soft
I get
caressing.
shivers. Like my whole
Yes.
body just freaks out.
Yes, I love that. Those are
Yeah.
the best things. I don't actually typically enjoy sex that much, unfortunately. It's weird. But the other things are the things that I get the most joy out of.
I'm pausing to be like, I really would love to understand the sex piece, but we don't have to go there. I think though that as I've learned about men, and especially as we've gotten older, men in general as they've gotten older, sex is like the act of sex is less and less important. Just the comfort, the love, the safety, the warmth of holding someone, of cuddling, being the big spoon or the little spoon, holding hands. When I'm like sitting with somebody and I just stroke their arm or I just rub their shoulder for a second, like they tell me that meant so much to me. Like, you didn't have to say anything. The date didn't have to go well, like, but you did that. And that just made my whole day. And I'm like, really? Like, and I naturally touch. I was sitting with somebody that I only had been dating for a couple months, and we're sitting at breakfast and I'm just scratching his back. You know, we're just sitting next to each other. And that was everything. I'm like, I didn't even realize I was doing it. So I think for women, we have trauma around sex and being used for sex and discarded for sex and like all of this stuff around our body and how men use it, that it gets put in this box, all this physical stuff that gets put in a box that's scary and dangerous, and they're just trying to take advantage of you. When if we could kind of pull out slowly in a relationship, a little bit of physical touch here, like it goes a lot farther than we would expect. And so I love that you're affirming that, and even putting sex at the bottom, where I don't know if that's typical for all men, but you know, that those kind of touches are satisfying for both people, you know, the ones giving and receiving. So
For
that's
sure.
got to go well in your relationships, I think.
Definitely, definitely. She was also into ASMR, so she was also watching it on YouTube, and so we
Nice.
both knew about it, and it was a hobby that we could share together, which was really really cool. But I do,
It's sensual. Sorry, I got to throw that in there. Like it,
for
the
sure,
act of something sensual shared, just all that energy, that sensual energy that you can pull up and not necessarily direct it into the sexual realm, but like keeping it there, and it's all like this tingly, it's an exchange, right? If you're sharing it with somebody, to be able to be in that kind of energetic field with each other is like hours of entertainment for me. So did you
yeah, for
guys get
sure,
to do that a little bit, or like be close to each other while you like stayed in it?
definitely. So she actually like fell asleep every time while doing it,
Oh,
which was great. I loved that. She didn't
yeah.
want to. She's like, I'm not going to fall asleep this time. It's like a challenge. I'm not falling asleep this time. But every time I got her, and I remember I'd go through like a list of things, like a guided meditation, and then like a countdown, and
Hmm.
I could ask like, so what was the last thing you remember? Because I could tell exactly when she fell asleep. It was a fun game that we played.
That's hilarious. Did you ever fall asleep on her, or it's just like you're just waiting for her to fall asleep?
No, I don't think I ever fell asleep on her, because she always did it on me first. I did it on her last because of that. So
Yeah.
for me, it's harder. Sleep is difficult for me, so it's harder for me to actually accomplish that.
Yeah. No, especially like when you're doing something. I have a
Yeah,
hard time sleeping when I'm just laying there trying to go to sleep, you know, not to mention like being in some kind of energetic state. Wow. Okay. So many things. But I want to go back to the emotional connection piece. So just even sharing that kind of state and that experience with another person has to, it might not necessarily be a checkbox, right? Like I don't see that as that. I see that as an extra. You know, if you have the check boxes and the things that you need to do logically in a relationship to keep a person there with you and in staying in the relationship, right? You probably have, okay, give them words of affirmation, spend time cuddling, watch their chick flicks or whatever they want to watch, you know, talk about what they did that day, you know. Is that what it feels like for you to try and be present in a relationship and keep it going, or how do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, it's more than for a relationship. That's how all human interaction for me is like, because my natural state in human interaction is don't speak to anyone ever for any reason. And so I had to build these check boxes, these lists of what I was supposed to do as a way to learn how to communicate with other people. And so for me, getting rid of those check boxes, I'd have no idea what I was doing. That, like, that is my entire theory of human interaction that you're just throwing away. Like, I don't know how to do that. And so because that's the way I learn, I think that the check boxes are important. I don't think that calling it a checkbox really matters. I don't think if you treat it as a checkbox versus coming naturally, there's any really big difference. I think what matters is it important to you or to them? Whether or not you call it a checkbox or whether or not it's planned out or
Ooh,
not.
I love your focus on this word checkbox, because you're right. I guess I am preventing a bridge from the autistic way of a relationship to normal, as you use the word normal. I hate that word, but we'll use it, like the normal way of a relationship. You're right. In my relationship, maybe it might not, it doesn't feel like a checkbox. It's like, oh, I want to check in on that person. I guess I was assuming that it was because I felt emotionally connected to that person, where maybe if you struggle with it, it's more of a to-do list. Does
Yeah,
that
I
seem
think it's
accurate, or am I being naive?
well, I think that the methodology that someone who's autistic would use would look like a checkbox to you, but to
Okay.
them it would be more, that's just the way their brain works. That's how they express themselves or how they act. And so for
Got it.
me, it is definitely like a checkbox, but it's not like I have a grocery list and I have to do all these things and they're all miserable and I hate them all 24/7 or something.
But
It's
you're
more just
talking to another person, so it has to be miserable, right?
sort of depends. Like as long as we're like philosophy or something, it's okay, it's tolerable. But
Right.
for me, it's, I don't know, like I don't, because I don't get the emotional sensations to do things naturally, I have to supplement that with something else. So I have to find a way to know what I'm supposed to do without trusting my intuitions, because my intuitions aren't there. There are no intuitions about what I'm supposed to do now. How often am I supposed to check in with somebody to make them feel appreciated? How often am I supposed to give someone words of affirmation? Because they mean nothing to me. So I don't intuitively feel like this would be a good time to tell someone they're beautiful or that I really appreciate them. I never get those intuitions because the words never meant anything to me whenever anybody said it. And so
Yeah.
I need to figure out, because I care about them in a relationship, how am I supposed to know when to do these things? And that's where the check boxes and the little plans come out, because I need something to supplement that emotional side, which I'm lacking. But I don't see it as like a checkbox in a negative sense where it's just a job. It's more
Yeah.
of a, I care about this person. And so in order to try and care about this person, I want to build a model in my brain where I can supplement the emotional side that I don't have or that I'm missing.
This is the first time that you use the word care about somebody. So that you've been able to get in touch with that connection, then that you can look at another person and you can feel care and concern and loving feelings for them.
Yes, it's just off of different things. So like I don't get the love and care from communication as much as I do other things.
Yeah.
So it's more, I can definitely care about someone. I'm definitely emotionally attached and I do get depressed when we break up, but it's what causes that emotional connection that's different for me. It's usually not the communication side.
What is it for you?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. I've
I don't,
stumped you. I've asked a question you don't know. I
yeah,
feel
there's,
proud of myself right now.
because I've only been in like two real relationships, there's still a lot I don't know. I'm really, really bad at making someone feel appreciated. I don't have a good system for how to make them feel appreciated or when to give them compliments, because I never give compliments. That's not a thing I do. I just, because they don't feel like anything for me. And so I don't know when I'm supposed to do that. And so there's a lot of stuff I just don't know about relationships because I haven't had very many and
Yeah.
not for very long. And so I'm still missing a lot of information on how to improve in that realm. It's not like in philosophy, I'm pretty good. I can talk to professors, crush them in ontology and fine tuning their arguments for God. That's easy. Relationships, I'm like a 12-year-old. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, I think though, giving compliments is, and knowing how to share your inner joy with someone else is something everybody struggles with. So much so that in my recent, in one of the networking mingle games that I play, it's called Three-Peat Meet and Greet. It's cheesy, I know. But I purposely hand them compliment cards. And I make them write, they talk to somebody and then they write a compliment down on the card. Now, of course, this sets up your mind to look for positive things in the conversation instead of like going to a conversation and be like, oh, their hair's a mess, or they've got food in their teeth, or I can't believe they just said that. Like, you know, the mindset that you go into a conversation is going to be drastically multiplied. So going into it, knowing you need to write a compliment is one thing. And then when they write it down, sometimes the compliments are just so,
Terrible.
oh my gosh, like, I liked your hair. You have a nice smile. Like, I'm going to be making a coaching video on like how to give meaningful compliments.
Yeah, I struggle with that so much because
Yeah.
I'm focused on physical attractiveness. The first thing I compliment is, "Oh, you have a nice butt." It's terrible, terrible compliment for someone you just met. But so I totally relate to trying to understand what is a good compliment, what is a meaningful compliment, to find something that really is important to them
Yeah.
and identify that instead of just something superficial.
Yeah. I mean, those are nice things to hear, probably when you're already past, like, you've exhausted all of your intellectual compliments and emotional compliments, and you know, it's nice to know that you fancy their body, but yeah, not the thing to lead with. You'd be surprised how many men do that though. They'll say something about physical traits, and how many women then turn around and walk away.
Yeah, I've experienced that a few times.
Yeah, I'm sure all men have actually. So where do you go from here? So I love how you've kind of identified a couple things that you want to learn about, that you need, you know, to figure out this balance of appreciating somebody. But there's so much more in that comes into play as to being in a relationship, like a back and forth. My questions when I read that initially were, you know, what do you bring to the table? What do you offer them? So like you know, want this incredibly gorgeous woman to be in a relationship with you. Um, you're trying to figure out how to offer these compliments. Well, I mean, like, what do you offer? What makes someone want to be in a relationship with you? And then, you know, what do you need? I'm not feeling, I guess I'm guessing, I don't want to guess, I guess, but it doesn't feel like a lot. You are a self-sustaining human, except for being in a relationship. Like, have someone here with you. Do you need them to live with you? Do you need, I mean, at what level of, can they say they're in a relationship with you but never hang out? Or like, what is it that you need from them, and what do you offer in return?
Yeah, so I don't see myself in a very positive light.
You
So
don't?
I do not at all.
Oh,
So I've never been proud of myself for any of the things I've done. And so when I think about what I have to offer, my intuitive response is, well, I have money. That's my answer. So I don't know what I can offer in a relationship. That's not something I know how to answer.
yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah, and if I think there's positive traits to me, but I don't know exactly what they are. So if there is something women would see in me, I don't think I would see it in me, so I wouldn't recognize it. Um,
Good
what I
point.
need out
You
of
only can recognize things that you have.
Maybe I don't know if I could recognize anything I have. Like even if there was something positive, I probably wouldn't recognize it, because of how my depression affected me. There are things I've done that people have complimented on, like, oh, that's so amazing. I can't believe you did that. And I'm like, what? That was just work. That was just a job. It's not impressive at all. Like
Like
I
you would have
lost,
done the same.
well, I don't know. I think it was more, this is something I hated. It's not something I'm proud of. I did this because I had to. So it's not something I'm proud of. This is a punishment, something that was a burden that I had to overcome. Um,
Depression?
well, like a lot of things, like for example, weight loss. In high school, I weighed about 280, so I was pretty big, and I got up to about 340, my max
Wow.
weight, and I lost 200 pounds over the course of 2 summers. And a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, that's so cool! How did you do that? So amazing!" I'm like, I'm ashamed of all of that. All of the work I had to do was something that I'm ashamed of. This isn't something I'm proud of. It's something that makes me feel confident. This was a
Mm,
miserable thing that I had to do. And most of the things in my life are like that. Things that people say, oh, that's really cool that you learned philosophy and talking to professors. A lot of that was work I did to try to overcome the depression. It wasn't something I was really passionate about. It was work.
yeah.
And so all the positive aspects that people see in me, like when you're complimenting me about my ability to communicate and to pick up on social cues, again, those aren't things I'm passionate about or things I'm proud of. Those are things I had to learn as a means to an end. And so for me, if there are positive aspects of what I can offer in a relationship, I don't know if I recognize them as something integral to my identity as a person, as more just things I had to do as work, like mowing the lawn or something.
Like you're in perpetual survival mode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that self-actualizing feels so far away. I mean, I don't know if Maslow's like hierarchy of needs, like you feel like you're kind of at the bottom. You're still trying to just get out of that first layer of basic needs, where you running your own YouTube that has, I don't even know how many subscribers do you have.
11,000 right now. That's another good example.
Yeah.
People say that too, like, oh my God, you've done this great YouTube channel. And that's another thing I just don't recognize. Like, no, this was just a job. This is like working at McDonald's for me. Like someone's telling me, oh, you work at McDonald's? That's so cool. I'm like, that's weird. What are you saying?
You're like, well, now you've just lost all credibility if you're, congratulating me for working there. But I know what you mean. Like you see something, I mean, maybe do you see something better for yourself and you see it so far away that everything that you're doing over here is like nothing. You're like, well, I'm not that. I don't have a drop dead gorgeous partner, so everything else I'm doing is like mediocre.
Yeah, I think that's very much how I see it. I think that is like the core identity of autism. Like you have that special interest and all this other stuff is just like a waste of time. Like I need to do this because I have to. It's a job, but that's what I really need.
Yeah, that's
Oh, and
interesting.
you asked about what my needs are in a relationship. So
Yeah.
physical touch is huge for me. I mean, we don't need to live together. What is like my minimum requirement for to get to the emotional stability that I need to be happy? So sex is a part of that. Um, but other than that, it's just being able to go out and do stuff together pretty often. Like even even if it's like once a week, that's the minimum requirement I think I would need to be happy. Go on a date once a week, sex every once in a while, once a month is fine, probably. Um, and that would be enough.
Obviously, like no emotional needs, no attending to. Mm,
I think there are some of those that I have. Like in my last relationship, I think there are times where I would like to have been more supported emotionally, but I don't understand enough about that to be able to answer the question.
yay. Just being able to say those words is so powerful.
Yeah, I definitely think there are some things that I would like emotionally, but I don't know enough about relationships to understand what those are.
Yeah, you're on your journey, right? You've like kind of just uncovering, taking those rocks off, trying to see what's underneath. That's really exciting, actually. What is it that maybe you want to share with some people about, I don't know, because about, dating someone with autism. I feel like, again, it gets a bad rap. It gets put in a box, and it's like other are, mental health issues of depression and anxiety. And if someone, comes out and says, hey, I have this, people back up and they're like, oh, that's too scary. I don't know if you listen to the podcast where if you have a child with special needs, there are some absolutely beautiful qualities that come from having a challenging situation in your life, any challenging situation in your life. And autism isn't any different. I've actually connected with a lot of things that you're sharing, and I'm like, I would love to have that in my relationship. You're very blunt and honest. You're wondering, and your ability to tweak and think of like, okay, she doesn't like this, she likes this. Okay, I'll do this more. That's not that common for that to happen in a relationship. Now, it might come at awkward times, but you're not going to get offended. I don't have to maybe like just overdo the ego boosts. I don't have to tell you how amazing you are. I don't have to worry about your ego, it sounds like, and that's amazing. So there's a lot of beautiful qualities that I think people outside of the traditional perfect box in a relationship, like we aren't looking outside of those boxes and seeing good things. We don't even give them a chance. So I guess before I just go on, and maybe the next podcast would be about the wonderful qualities that I've seen in people with autism. What do you think, people could see the beauty in people with autism, or how to stay open to, or tips for dating people with autism? Anything analytical and logical in there for us?
I mean, the best thing would be being open to giving advice. Because we're analytical, we like information. So the more information you give us, the better. The ability to learn and improve is key to us. And so if we ask questions like, how was that? Give detailed answers, like use numbers, lots of numbers. Like that was a 6. That was like a 4.5. Like, come on, we can do better.
Nice.
Like, so being able to quantify things and compare it to other things and build models is what autistic people are very good at. And so if you can give them more information, especially quantifying it, that would help a lot in helping them to improve at whatever they're not very good at.
Yeah. What does and we all have this, what does the ugly side of dating someone with autism look like for you?
They're very bad at a lot of things.
Like what?
Communication, emotional reinforcement, knowing when you need space versus want attention. Like if someone's like trying to give cues that they really need attention, I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? I'm going to go play video games. Bye. And just completely ignore them. And that pisses people off, especially who you're dating it quite a bit. They want you to pick up on those emotional cues. And so because people who are artistic are very bad at that, it's going to take a while to train them to be able to not be bad at that, to be able to figure out from looking at you and creating those check boxes to know when you're in that situation, because they're not going to just pick up on it emotionally like most people want for in a relationship.
Yeah. You don't want to have to be like, I want attention now. Sit with me on the couch and tell me how beautiful I am.
Yes.
Right. I could see that.
That would be perfect for me. Just tell me that. Like, all right, I can do that. That is good.
Yeah, but it feels like it doesn't feel authentic. It does. Yep. It feels like you're just doing it because I told you to, and not because you really feel it. And I could see that being a little frustrating. But I think probably over time, and the more lessons and experiences you have, you might be able to see more of a pattern. Being analytical, you could pick up on that pattern of like, oh, when I say something and they turn away, that's when I go in and hug them from behind, or, like do something like that to create a more consistent pattern.
Yeah, for sure. I think that is the key there, is learning the patterns of the person you're with and being able to identify their unique traits and needs from their different social expressions and what they're talking about. And once you can learn that about an individual, it becomes much easier to be able to accommodate their needs and not have to like rely on emotional intuition things that are very difficult for people like me.
Yeah. I could see that being interesting in the overlap, but difficult in how different women are. Like I know not many people or many women would love to have those awkward, blunt conversations about something uncomfortable, or, what's going well and what's not, but then other people won't be like that and they don't want to talk about it. So, I mean, the vast difference between women and what they want and what they need and how they communicate has to be very trying, to kind of go from one to another where, you kind of need to be in a committed relationship to even get to that stage.
For sure.
So maybe to end or wrap this up, not that I want to, I could talk forever with you. How do you move forward then? How do you try and match with people? How are you meeting women? How are you going to take that next step to find the more committed relationship so you can learn in another good 6-month, year-long commitment?
Yeah, that's the part I'm struggling with the most right now. So my type is very stereotypically attractive. And so the only places I know where I can potentially meet them are like bars, Cowboy Jack's downtown, which is the most emotionally uncomfortable place for me to be in essentially the world. Like I'd rather be in a literal den of lions. I'd be more comfortable than a bar downtown with people I'm supposed to get to know. And so the thing I've been struggling with the most is that I need practice. The way I get better at anything is I practice a lot, always practice. That is my the way I do things very well over a short period of time is I do lots and lots of practice. I do it all the time, 24/7, devote myself entirely to exercise. That's how I lost 200 pounds in 2 years. To philosophy. That's how I was able to learn enough philosophy to debate with professors. I just devote myself to practice, and I'm good at that. I'm good at learning from those things. But with relationships, I don't get a lot of practice. It's very rare for me to find someone who I'm attracted to, and significantly more rare for them to actually want to engage with me or to go on a date. And so the biggest challenge I have is finding opportunities to meet women who I'm attracted to. And so I've been going to like just every meetup I can possibly find, meetup.com and Eventbrite and those kinds of things. Most of those there's not a lot of people who are my type there. And so the places where they are, like bars and concerts, modeling agencies, I don't know,
Yeah.
are not places that I'm very well, not places where I've developed the level of comfort that I can be there, like a coffee shop. And so my two next steps is one, I'm trying to find friends who are willing to go to bars with me. And I have two right now who are pretty cool. I'm supposed to go to a bar tonight with a friend, and being able to go there and practice in those situations until I become comfortable is the next step, and finding more opportunities to meet women who are my type, to be able to practice being in a relationship. Those are the two next steps for me that I really need and that I'm missing to be able to go down my normal path of practicing and improvement and trial and error until I actually get good at it.
I'm curious, is there a way to alter your special interest? Like maybe you have, I mean, I don't know, you could probably describe your type to a T. Blonde, blue-eyed, C-cup boobs, hourglass shape, like all of those kind of typical just incredibly attractive women. Is there a way, or is there any wiggle room on what you focus on as being attractive? Like I have been burned by incredibly gorgeous men. I not only burned, or I'd go on a date with them and they'd be okay, but they wouldn't have the depth typically that I need in a relationship, or the awareness of me, like they tend that, they're so gorgeous, they've been so gorgeous their whole life that like they've gotten the attention and they like the attention. And then so now I've trained myself to see really gorgeous men and be like, like no thanks. Now a good heart, a man that's serving others, I mean, like I'm starting to see that and instantly be like, ooh, who's this guy? Like I want to go talk to him. And I've trained myself because I think we all want somebody gorgeous, right? We want to outkick our coverage. We want someone standing next to us that makes us feel amazing because they picked us. And that means that we're beautiful and we are better and all of those things. And anybody that disagrees with me is either lying or hiding themselves, right? Because it does feel great to be with somebody who everyone's staring at and thinks is gorgeous. But a lot of times it doesn't lead to like a fulfillment of someone then being able to see the beautiful aspects to you and holding space for you and your emotional needs, or your, you know, your quirks and how you do things, just like my quirks. You know, my heart kind of goes out to you, because I see, I mean, you're a good looking guy, you smile, you've got gorgeous eyes, and you've got all these qualities that could put you on the same level as a really attractive person. But then typically those incredibly gorgeous people, like I said, aren't going to be able to have a lot of space for you and your quirks. And so I just, in my mind, I'm seeing this perpetual pattern of a really attractive person, you get crushed or dumped. And then really attractive person, instead of maybe tweaking and growing out and noticing and reframing your focus into somebody's heart or somebody's passion for something, or, you know, just finding those things really attractive in them without the physical piece. Is there
Uh,
a possibility for that?
I don't think so. So I've tried that in a number of ways. So going in the philosophy club, I met someone. She was about my age. She was very philosophically minded, but not quite as what I consider attractive. And I didn't enjoy the relationship. It doesn't matter how intellectually she was about at my same level, or how emotionally she was more developed, and she was more open to being able for me to ask questions like, how good was that, or did you like that? And she was very receptive to those kind of things. But none of that worked for me in a relationship, because my special interest is specifically about the physical attraction. Being with someone who's superficial and shallow but really attractive makes me happier than someone who's philosophical and open but may not be as attractive. For me, the physical aspect is like the core of my special interest and what matters to me more than anything else.
That's so fascinating. What, I guess for our listeners then, what is your specific type? Maybe there's somebody out there that's loving what you're saying and fits your type, and I can match you guys.
Usually like 18 to 25, about 5'4", 100 pounds, very fit. Usually B cup breasts, so smaller and fitter is usually better. And a
Mhm.
super cute face. So the typical cheerleader, prom queen, um, fitness model type.
Gotcha. That's interesting. 5'4". How tall are you?
6'2".
Isn't that a big gap? Don't you have to
I
bend
think
over a
so.
lot?
I don't know. I've never thought about it. I just know that I read this thing once that the first person you fall in love with kind of becomes your type in a way.
Mm,
And for me, that's definitely true. Like all of the women who I've been attracted to have been in that range. And the first woman who I really fell like was super obsessed with was in that range. She was a physical trainer. That did not work out well. Falling in love with a physical trainer, not the best strategy. And
well,
so
I'm smiling because I have my assumptions, but why do you say that? Because they're around a lot of hot people and they're all getting sexy and they just move on.
well, you're paying them to spend time with you. So they're not with you because
Oh, your personal trainer,
yes,
like you.
your
Oh yeah,
personal trainer.
yeah.
So not the best strategy. But yeah, so that has always been my type. I don't know why, but I think it has to do with my being attached to specifically that woman for a very long time, even though
Hmm.
we never got to be in a relationship. And that image became a symbol of what I see as really valuable or desirable or something above my pay grade, essentially.
Hmm.
And I think that's a key to why I value that specific type of physical features.
I actually, that's interesting. I could see that. My first real love, yeah, it kind of held on, and um, I had to do a lot of work to break that, because there were some toxic behaviors and the way that I was treated that I stayed, it stayed up until just recently. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like all of them fit this one thing. And it kind of came together. So I guess that's where I'm maybe projecting my fear of, you know, the cycle for you. And, um, you know, wanting you to be able to get out of the 18 to 25-year-old range, right? Because you're going to be aging. And then for you to only really want to be in that range, you know, will make it harder and harder. And not having any joy without being in a relationship leaves this really big gap of enjoying life, um, that I don't want for you. I want you to be able to live your best life and to have that. So I guess that's why I ask, is there any wiggle room? Is there any way to, do different kinds of therapies? Whether it's, what is it?
IPT, CBT, DBT, TMS, ECT. Yeah, I've tried all of those.
Okay. That was impressive. And I'm over here thinking like, um, mushrooms or
Tried those, weed, alcohol, video games, travel, food, friends and family. I have spent many, many years. Exercise was a big one. A lot of people said exercise makes you feel better. Did not work one bit for me.
to make you feel better.
Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah.
the endorphins get released and they lowers depression for a lot of people. Exercise helps in many cases to alleviate depression. For me, it did not work at all. Hobbies, bike riding, bowling, volleyball, baseball, soccer, chess, football. Tried all of those things.
Wow.
Um,
I was just
huge
thinking
improv
more of like the
theater.
therapies where they literally hook you up. The word is evading me now, but like they literally hook you up and send electrical impulses to rewire your brain in certain ways.
That's
It's
ECT.
specifically around, huh?
It's ECT, electrocognitive
Yes.
electrotherapy. And then there's TMS. TMS is the one where they do it with magnets or something, transcranial magnetic stimulation. I've tried the TMS one. It did nothing for me.
My next is going to be EMDR. Like I want to try that to see if I can get down deeper in my brain or just some ways to like, I don't know, create some flexibility in, or just a reassociation of your attraction, if that would be possible in some way to kind of do that, to give you a wider spectrum of people. And I'm not saying that someone's not out there, right? That would
Well, I
love to
already
talk
had one. I
philosophy.
had I had one. I had like the perfect girlfriend for a while, but
And it didn't work out, right?
Mhm. But again, like for me, that isn't as big of a deal. Like even temporary relationships make me feel very, very good. So even the breakup part doesn't cause me to spiral down for as many people. So that's not really terrible for me. I'm okay with
So
a
you're
lot of
okay
temporary
with
ones.
like over like lots of temporary relationships. You're not looking for a long-term partner.
I would be okay with either or both. Like for me, both would make me happy.
Yeah. Do you want some downtime without a partner?
No.
Okay. So I didn't know if like for some people it's like I have the energy for a relationship and to do all the work that's required to being in a relationship, but then I kind of need a break. And then they kind of find a way to pull back and be like, okay, I got myself back now. And then they have to regenerate the energy to like get back out there. But for you, you'd rather
Yeah.
just have it consistent.
Well, I see a lot of like what you said, that there's a lot of things in life that you can really get joy from, and I'm missing out on that. And for me to really enjoy those other things, I need to be in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a key that unlocks my ability to really enjoy other things. So like
Mm-hmm.
when I was in that relationship, I was able to enjoy going to the movies with her, going to volleyball with her, playing spike ball with her, doing all of the normal things that I was just doing as a job, essentially to like a means to an end,
Yeah.
became fun. I started to enjoy being a part of life when I'm in those relationships. I started to think about my YouTube channel and like, where can I take this? What is the future? How can I grow? And these things
Mm-hmm.
started to become emotionally important to me. As in before, they were just like, I'm doing this for money. I don't care. It doesn't really matter. It's just a job at McDonald's essentially. And
Yeah.
after being in a relationship, my special interest kind of shifts to growing and learning about life in general, because I now have that ground of what makes me happy, and I can use that and build off of it to enjoy the other things in life, which I don't really feel without that relationship.
No, I think I really understand it. It gives meaning to your life. It gives excitement and, the forward thinking enthusiasm. I feel that too. You're kind of like in this lower end, you're just trying to get through the day and the winters are really hard and you're just trying to get to that next potential relationship that could make you feel like you're dancing on clouds. Yeah, that is a challenge we all have. It's interesting um, how difficult then that is to have such a specific type, which that's what the dating apps are for, right? You can set in your height, you can set in your age, you can set in your location, and like we can formulate all of those things. I can't tell you how many times I've been to the end of Bumble. Like you get that sign that's like, oh, we've reached all of your options. You have to expand your search, or, you know, and okay, Cupid, I think I've done that. Like it's hilarious. And I'm not willing to wiggle on some of these things. And I'm not trying to ask you to wiggle on what you're attracted to. We all deserve to be with somebody that we're attracted to, that makes us feel alive and beautiful.
I also wanted to mention that too. Like a lot of people with autism, the people who they talk with are like, oh, well, can't you just change your special interest? Or is there any way that we can make some wiggle room there? And that is terrible for someone with autism to hear. They hate that. It's so bad. And
Hate
all
that
the
question.
research, well, that's like, to use a very uncomfortable example, it's like conversion therapy for someone who's LGBTQ. It's so fundamental to who they are. Saying, can you change that, is like a complete like diversion from their identity as a human being.
Oh, wow. And I
And
just did that.
yeah, but
I'm so sorry.
it's all right. But so that a lot of research has been done on that. Special interest can change, but it usually happens naturally over time. But I don't think no therapies have been done to manually change special interest. That's not like a thing I know about.
Oh, I just feel it right now. My gut is like hitting the floor of like, I just did that. Like, I just made it like, you aren't okay the way you are, and you need to fix it with an electrode on your brain. Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. In my mind, I'm like, oh, let's broaden your horizon. Like, I obviously didn't realize that,
Okay,
yes,
that's
that makes
normal.
total
That's
sense.
for a lot of people, that's really normal because it seems strange and foreign to have these kinds of desires. And so, well, what could possibly help that? You're thinking out of it from a way to try and help. You're not thinking of it as a judgmental way. You're just trying to think of solutions that could possibly make my life better. And so I appreciate you being open to that and trying to find solutions. And I recognize you're not trying to be insulting in any way
No.
by saying that.
No, but I could see, I love the connection to LGBTQ, because of course I wouldn't go up to a lesbian and be like, do you think you could try being with the guy? I mean, just give it a go and see how, like, never would I do that. Of course, I don't think that that's, what would even be appropriate. So I really appreciate you pointing that out and like giving an example of, of something much more obvious. I find that really interesting, how easy that was for me to say that, for me to problem solve. And it was out of care and concern for you and the cycle that you're in, and the challenge. It makes me feel for you. I instantly have problem solving parts that want to show up and like design some situation or design a community to have you have a bigger pool of people to meet.
Yeah, that's the thing I've been looking for the most, is a community.
Yeah.
Because I'm an introverted, meeting people is the hardest thing. And I realize how much I really would have liked to have a community growing up. And I'm missing out on that was such a huge thing that back then I saw no value in community. But now I realize how important friends and family are, how important those kinds of communities are. And even though I'm an atheist, I don't believe God exists, I look at churches and I envy the kinds of communities they have for people. They have youth groups and pastor groups and friend groups, and there's a million groups in any church you go to where you can just meet all of the people you want. And I'm so jealous of that. In my community, I keep talking about, I really like to start an atheist church because I want that kind of community. They're so cool, just without the religious part. And my community pushes back. They don't like the analogies to church, but I think that community thing is so important, and we're missing it in the secular community. And I've searched in the secular community. It's really hard to find that. And so, yeah, when you mentioned community and finding opportunities to meet more people, that's something I really, really want, and definitely am jealous of in other communities.
Yeah, I think that's what we're all missing, especially after COVID. That is my big passion right now. And yes, I want to get people finding those partners, finding the relationship of their dreams. Like, that is a main thing. That's kind of piggybacking off of the fact that we aren't living our best life if we're not having great sex. Like, there is that aspect. You can't have great sex without a deep, meaningful connection. And how do we get to have deep, meaningful connections? You have to start with a community. You have to feel accepted and loved for who you are and not feel like you have to match up and be everything this one person needs. And so I'm kind of trailing it back and then looking, I mean, that was before COVID hit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, none of us have community. And those that do need to cling to it because it is rare and beautiful to have those things. During COVID, my church community fell apart. My core, I was in a small group that completely fell apart. I wasn't supported. I wasn't seen or valued. Like it really kind of burned me a lot. And I think a lot of people in those church situations that resonates with, like they weren't as supportive as you would expect, being that's what they're all about, is to love other people. I mean, I know you're nodding, like I'm sure there's a YouTube video maybe on this part, but that piece of community is missing for everybody. You would maybe have really enjoyed this one meeting we had. It was casual trivia and conversation. I brought some trivia questions and then little trivia cards that you could fill in about yourself. And 5, 6 of us sat around, and one of the questions brought up, somehow in the conversation, we brought up, what our faith backgrounds were. We had a completely devoted Christian who quotes the Bible freely. We had a Jewish person. We had somebody who's been to church, but not so into it anymore. We had a pagan who had a symbol, who like pulled out a necklace of an animal. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've known this person for a year and I had no idea. And we all sat around and had a wonderful time. Like that's the kind of community that I want to bring with people of different political standings, and for us to be able to have, just like you do on your YouTube channel, conversations with people with differing views. That's when you really have community and you don't just have safety in numbers. There is this like protective realm of being around people like you, and that's not a real community. Because you're just safe in numbers, and you don't know, as soon as you disagree with them, you're going to get booted out. That's not community. Like to come together holistically, authentically, and honestly, and then be accepted. And that you would fit right in. I would love to, if you were closer. I know you're in Minneapolis, and I'm not up there yet. I used to go up there a lot for the Vikings games. Don't kill me. That was the agreement in my marriage. But it's a good town. I just don't know if I'll be able to make it up there very soon.
Yeah, I mean, that community, I think what makes a community strongest is having a diverse set of people. Like if I had a community of 10 me's, I would be able to learn absolutely nothing that would help me ever. I'd just be like a reflection of my own echo chamber ideas, and I'd never make any progress. The real value of a community is having a diverse set of people with a diverse set of skill sets that can do the things that you're bad at or weak at, who you can ask for help and who can teach you to improve at those things. And so, yeah, I think the diverse set of people with a bunch of different ideas is really the core to what makes a successful community. And I think that's why the secular community is so lacking, because we all have a very similar mindset. It's like the herding cats kind of a thing. We're all just doing our own thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I totally relate. I've gone to lots of church groups as an atheist.
Oh,
they're
cool.
not really that keen on like introducing you to people for a relationship, because don't really believe in God kind of a thing.
Right.
But I love going to church groups. Played hockey, soccer. They do a lot of really cool groups that I've been to.
Mm-hmm. And they're welcoming? Do you tell them that you're atheist?
Yeah, I'm pretty upfront about it. I mean, I've debated a lot of the pastors around here, so a lot of people know I'm pretty predominantly atheist.
Do you think they welcome you to try and change you?
Some of them do, which I'm totally okay with. Like, by the way, what's it called? There's the missionary dating. Like, I'm okay with that. That'd be great. But a lot of them do, and I'm not offended by that at all. I think that why that they're accepting, if that's an important part of their identity and who they are, and it makes them an accepting kind of a person, then I don't think it matters what inspires them to do that, whether it's a pagan god or a desire to bring you to the Lord, or just innate love for humanity. Whatever makes you a better person is good in and of itself.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you're not judging. I can't say that for people, some religious people.
And many atheists, many atheists.
Oh, yes. I've struggled dating atheists because there's this line, and they are offended if you're even on the other side, and they aren't maybe as open to the idea of as much as I'm open to the idea of there not being anything. I don't believe that. I think there is something bigger than me, but they seem a little tighter in their box than some religious people. So
definitely.
Oh, Tom, I have loved this conversation. I know we've gone on longer than we probably equated time for. I have some random questions just to kind of get to know you a little bit better and just on a random side. The random questions that you picked were, let's see, which ones do we not talk about? You said, what relationship skills come easily to you? Which ones don't? Top 5 values that drive your choices and favorite way to spend a Saturday afternoon. Let's talk about, just real quick, your favorite way to spend a Saturday afternoon.
So definitely in order of being in a relationship. So cuddling and watching Kung Fu Panda is the greatest thing in the world.
I love Kung Fu Panda.
It is objectively the best movie, and anyone who disagrees is just wrong. So I love doing that. That is one of my favorite things, which is actually a challenge because women don't like typically just cuddling all day in bed and never going out. Not a big thing that they like in a relationship, but that's definitely my favorite. Second is going out on dates just anywhere with someone I'm interested in. I love doing that. I love hanging out and doing anything fun. Without a relationship, what I typically do is I bike 20 miles a day, 26 miles a day, and I play spike ball with some friends at the lake. Those are my typical Saturdays without a relationship.
Well, but you're in Minneapolis, so the biking and playing on the beach only lasts for like what, 2 months, 3 months?
Well,
so how do you spend time like when the rest of the time when you're snowed in and blizzard?
so I'm a part of this group called Embrace the North. And what they do is during the winter, they take a chainsaw and they cut out like a 20-foot by 20-foot section in like Cedar Lake. And we all jump in the freezing cold water, and we see how long we can sit there. So we're doing this during the winter as well. Do like hot and cold sessions where they have like a little heater outside. So you after you freeze and you're completely red from the neck down, you just jump in the heater. So we're doing this all year round.
That's amazing. I was going to do the polar plunge down here in Chicago. It was back in February, and it was too crazy. The water was too crazy. It was too rocky or jaggedy. The ice had gotten so bad that they canceled it, and then they rescheduled. It was a whole mess, but I was really, really nervous. I was like, what if my heart stops? What if I, have a heart attack? But then I've watched have you ever seen Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop Lab?
I have Thunderfoot, one of the YouTubers I follow, has done quite a number of things on that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I love that. I just heard that, and Sex, Love, and Goop are like, I want to be that. I want to live all of that. And one of the episodes in Goop Lab was the ice bath, the ice water. You're nodding like you've seen it. And I'm like, after that, I'm like, all right, I'm going to start taking cold showers. And I'm just not there yet. I get in there and it's warm, and then I slowly turn it cold. And then I'm like, oh, but it's just so much nicer to make it warm. And I
Yep.
need to like put it cold first. So I just get in, it knocks the wind out of me. And then, because it's incredibly healing. I mean, that's probably a source of health for you by getting into that freezing water.
Oh yeah, it helps a lot in the same way as doing something that's outside of your comfort zone. It gives you like a shock value, releases the endorphins, and it really prepares you for more things during the day that are stressful, but they're not going to be as stressful as jumping into an ice cold shower in the morning right when you wake up. And so there's definitely a lot of psychological things that it helps with to be able to challenge yourself and to be able to enter into situations like a cold shower or like a jump in the lake when it's negative 20 degrees or whatever, that puts you out of your comfort zone and gets you emotionally ready to be able to take on those challenges that you like very anxious about. You're like, I don't think I could do this. Well, you just jumped in the lake in the middle of the morning at 6 a.m. Like, yeah, you could probably just go up and talk to somebody. It's not as bad.
Yeah, it's not nearly as bad. I've already done the hardest thing I'm going to do today by getting in that water.
Yeah.
And isn't there some like properties about how it generates your cells faster? It gets kind of the chemical release and the quick injection of those chemicals gives you, I don't know, some cellular boost to, getting rid of all the dead and unhealthy cells. I felt like there was some kind of cellular benefits.
Sort of yes and sort of no. So the guy I mentioned, Thunderfoot, he's a scientist. He's a very, very prolific scientist who does physics and chemistry and mixes the two, which is a very rare thing. And
Mm-hmm.
he does debunking videos. So he does not like her science in that area. So it doesn't
When Paul throws?
technically, yeah,
Yeah.
not a fan. But
It's so Hollywood-ish.
yes, very,
Yeah.
very Hollywoodish. But there are some benefits. So like when exercising in the cold, you burn more calories. That's the big benefit. Your body needs to expend calories to heat up your body. And so the cold can definitely help to generate your metabolism in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It doesn't do much about the cells, and there's no
Okay.
nutrients. Nutrients doesn't come from cold water at all, so it doesn't really help in that way.
Yeah.
But it does generate a lot of metabolism and help in that way, as opposed to heat. If you're exercising in the heat, it doesn't do anything to help your calories because you're just sweating and burning off water. So you lose a lot of weight, but not a lot of calories. And so exercising in the cold is actually more effective because you burn more calories.
It's like drinking a cold glass of water versus a room temperature water.
Yep.
I still hate cold water, or hot water too. So.
Tea is great though.
Huh?
Tea, like warm tea.
I'm definitely getting into tea. I just can't get into the hot tea. I think I've burnt my tongue and the roof of my mouth way too many times that I just can't. I'm too scared. I have anxiety as I bring the hot glass to my mouth, and I'm like, okay, I'll just wait for it to cool down, or blowing on it. Or Starbucks is it should be sued for how many times it's scalded people's mouths and you can't taste anything for 3 days. So I asked them to put ice in it. I mean, I don't get coffee, but just, getting a warm tea, I'm like lukewarm, and that's already still too hot. So I want to get there because I think it's an adulting rite of passage is to like coffee, and I just can't. I feel like I'm still a child in that way, that I'm
I so relate to that because I feel like alcohol is another thing. People like being an adult means you like alcohol, and I hate alcohol. Like it's so bitter. I can't stand it. There's not a single alcohol that I'm like, oh, this tastes good. Like, why do people drink this? It's terrible.
Right? Where I think the opposite. I drank too much alcohol in college. It was a really stupid thing. I didn't like the taste of it. It was just part of the culture, and I really wish I would have changed that. I really, my life went a different direction because of the way that the choices I made in college, where now, and I'm healthy. I really notice alcohol as kind of a poison that I put in my body, and I love not drinking. I think I'm more mature. I'm healthier. I'm taking care of myself because I don't drink alcohol, and I'll have a margarita here and there. But I love not drinking. I feel more mature without it. So, when the pandemic came on and they were shutting down all the businesses and they left the dispensary and the alcohol liquor stores open out of necessity, I'm like, oh my gosh, people, get it together. You don't need these things to live. It's actually hurting your immune system and your overall health by partaking in these things. But
it's literally a poison. Alcohol is literally a poison. So it's not a healthy thing.
No, it doesn't do anything positive for your body. It ruins your body. So yeah.
But I can't, I'm embarrassed because I can't even finish something. I eat a hard cider, a super sweet, typical alcohol drink. And I'm like, this is so bitter. I can't drink it. It's so terrible. And it makes me feel like such a kid when I'm in this bar with lots of people just drinking, chugging whiskey and stuff. I'm like, oh, it's so disgusting. What am I doing?
Well, you could try what I used to do in college sometimes when I knew it was going to be a big drinking night and I didn't want to drink that much. I would talk to the bartender. I'd be like, hey, when you're serving vodka shots, can you put water in mine? Or can you, or I would literally shoot it and throw it over my shoulder. And everyone else is shooting their shot that they wouldn't notice. And, I have fun. I can dance and be silly without alcohol. So I would, they wouldn't know. And now when I go to events, and some people, I purposely pick places and events, I design it so it's not about drinking. It's available if you really want it. You have to go to the bar. I'm not bringing a bar list or a drink list. I'm not hosting drink tickets. Everything I don't think dating mindfully and in a healthy way involves alcohol. We make poor choices. We have parts that show up that try and take over and make bad choices for us in general because we have ingested some poison or alcohol. And it creates a more authentic experience. But some people are not comfortable yet with themselves and they need a little icebreaker. They need to warm up a little bit. And so it is available, but it goes so much better when people don't. In order to kind of make people feel comfortable though, I'll get like a ginger ale with a lemon in it. You know, it gives me that little like bubbly that makes me feel kind of fun and, you know, fancy. Maybe it makes people think that I'm drinking alcohol, but not that they need it, but just that it's a relaxed setting and that there isn't any judgment. But I definitely know that I'm not drinking alcohol when I'm hosting events. But even when I go out on dates now, there was one guy I dated, first guy I dated that absolutely did not drink. He's maybe had like a sip in his whole life. And he hated it, didn't, just like you, super bitter. And we went out dancing for like 5 hours, no alcohol. Like I could do that. I didn't think anybody else could do this. And we had a blast. Everyone else, all these like, you know, 20-year-olds, or then we went to another place that was much older and we had a great time. And then after that, I'm like, I'm not drinking again. Like, why do I need to drink if I can go and dance like a crazy person without any alcohol? It was great. And you feel great the next morning, you know, all just feeling how bad you feel after you poison yourself is not worth it. And I feel like a new person now that I've kind of gave up alcohol. So I'm with
Yeah,
you. And there's
I
more
feel,
of us than you think.
yeah, for sure. I think it's like a cultural thing that it makes people feel like they can be more loose. Like it's some kind of a laxative to make them be able to be more social and overcome the social anxiety that they have. An
Yeah.
excuse to be able to be more crazy and say, "Oh, it was the alcohol, not really me."
Oh yeah.
So I think that's for normal people, alcohol is a way to overcome their social anxiety. And a part of me was like, I wanted to try that to see if it could work for me. Unfortunately, it did not work for me, and it was disgusting.
Yeah. Well, you'll be healthier for it for sure. That's awesome, Tom. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we close it off?
I don't think so. We talked for like 2 hours, right? That was a
I
long
know.
time.
Very easy to talk to. This was really great.
Thank you, thank you. I've had a lot of practice.
Yes. Well, I would love to. I know you're in our meetup group, and if there's some events that I have virtually, I'd love for you to join, and maybe we can touch base and see how dating's going later on.
Sure, absolutely, sounds great.
Let me know if there's anything I can do to help.
Will do.
Thanks, Tom.
Great, it was great talking to you. It was a wonderful experience, and I will talk to you later.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Bye.
Oh, bye bye.